As always, we got Gunny Matheson, Joe Schmidt, and our special guest today.
All right.
Good stuff.
Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's start the show.
All right. Episode 97, Jay Winborn.
We're back. Got another episode. As always, we got Gunny Matheson.
No, you screwed it. It's another episode of the show.
No, it also always starts with all right. All right, we're back.
Yeah, but last time
Man,
he
we
didn't
say anything.
Last time he didn't
just went
say we're
straight.
back.
No, the
And
last two times.
I really enjoy it whenever you just get it all right.
Yeah.
Like, so if you want to start over, like
No,
if you
I'm
need
good.
him, okay.
Yeah, say all right.
Gunny Matheson, Joe Schmidt,
As always.
and our special guest tonight, NCHA Executive Director Jay Winborn.
Yeah.
Glad to be here, guys.
Thanks for being here. Yeah,
Thanks for
Thanks
inviting
for
me.
coming.
we got a bunch of stupid questions we're gonna fire at you, and none of them are wrote down. They're all off the shooting from the hip, but
I run a horse organization, so I'm used to.
you're used to stupid questions.
Yeah, I don't think there's a tougher job anywhere than being an executive director of a horse organization. And you've done it with two of the biggest organizations and done a great job with both of them.
Thank you.
For a long time now. Like,
Yeah.
Going on 16 years now.
so you started with the Rain Cow Horse deal in 2010? 2012? Cool.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, it was. I'd never run an equine association before, so it was fairly new to me. But obviously, I understood the horse business a little bit, been involved in it a little bit, although not necessarily on the Western performance horse side. But I'm a student of human nature, and a lot of horse people are alike in a lot of ways. So brought that experience to the table.
Yeah, you got a polo background, correct?
I do. Yep.
And how'd you get into that?
You know, I grew up doing it. My dad played polo when he was in school, and my grandfather played back in the 30s and just kind of grew into it, and played professionally for almost 15 years. I also, mine was more on the side of, making and training horses, and that's what I did for a living at the time. Worked for a couple of high goal organizations, and high goal is like the major leagues of that, and would work horses, train horses, play horses, and traveled around the country, and during the summertime playing at some lower goal clubs as a pro.
Where did you grow up?
Right here.
Oh, right here in
Yeah,
Texas.
right. I mean, in the neighborhood.
Because I don't think, I know there's one not far from here, but when I think of polo, I think of Florida.
Yeah, I mean, Florida is mecca for winter polo in the world. I mean, you get people from all over the world that come to Florida. But, and I've told this story a lot of times, and it kind of starts to make sense when I'm talking to people in the Western performance horse industry. If you look, polo is the oldest team sport in the world. It goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And it was a cavalry training exercise for like Genghis Khan and some of the great warriors in the world at that time. When the British cavalry was fighting the Boer Wars over in India, they discovered it. And this was in the late 1800s. They came back to England, and at the turn of the century, it migrated to the U.S., and it came to New York first, up on the East Coast. Well, the New Yorkers didn't know where to find these horses to play polo, so they came south to Texas, and they started buying off the ranches here, buying cow ponies. So the foundation of the American polo pony is the stock horse. They wanted horses that were quick and handy and used to a lot of stuff going on around them. And for a very, very long time, the greatest polo players in the U.S. came out of Texas.
Wow.
I did not know that.
There's a very famous polo player by the name of Cecil Smith. He grew up in Bernie, and he was a windmill mechanic, and he got hired by this guy who was buying horses out of the remount station down by San Antonio, and they were breaking them and training them. And he went from making $10 a month as an average horse trainer to $100 a month as a polo horse trainer. and he went on to become the greatest American player ever.
Some of those guys, some of those Brazilians and stuff. Isn't Brazil kind of the Argentina, yeah. Some of those guys they make millions, huh?
Yeah.
The top-rated guys.
There's a player by the name of Adolfo Cambiasso, and he is the GOAT. He's been 10 goals. I saw him play when he was about 16 years old down in Florida, and you knew it. I mean, just watching him. And he didn't come from a polo background. I mean, he had relatives that played down there, and a lot of people play in Argentina. It's like soccer here. You know, everybody plays. But this guy's an athlete. He would probably be good at anything. But he is a multi-millionaire many times over from polo. He's the guy that's cloning the horses. He has over 600 clones of one horse.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the only discipline where the cloning works.
Yeah, and you really have to. I am neither for or against. I've seen it work in minimal cases, but I will tell you, when it comes to polo, the breeding operations down in Argentina are unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I saw a show on that once where they're cloning a ton of horses, but we've tried it. It's been tried in the cutting, it's been tried in the reining, and it just never really panned out.
They spent a lot more time getting involved with it, and pretty much for every clone you see that is actually on the polo field, there's 3 others that didn't make it.
Right.
Didn't Charmaine James clone Scamper?
Yeah, I think she did. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it worked out very good, did it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Smart Chickalina was cloned.
Well, we're not supposed to know that.
There might be more to that story.
If you talk to old JB, well, he was never cloned. Scouts honor.
I mean,
Scouts honor.
It's weird. We drove by Cambiaso's place several years ago when we were in Argentina, and they have all the horses out in the pasture, and they're all bay mares. They all look similar. You get up close, and there's little differences, but you'd be driving in the truck, and they'd all lift their head and turn at the same time, and it's really bizarre.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But I think you lose, and I know this from my background in training horses and making horses and getting horses off the track. You lose that uniqueness of really taking something and turning it into something great. I mean, the Argentines theory is it's much easier to start with 80% than scratch. So, but I think there's a lot of horses that go missed because of that.
Yeah, I imagine what the horse went through, the great horse, what it went through its life experiences, molded it into what it is.
Yeah.
And to just clone it and treat it like it's special, probably,
But look at the donor who they're cloning from. I mean, obviously that's a great horse.
Correct.
Are you going to be able to replicate every single thing that happened in that horse's life? I mean, down to the same guy that picked the stalls when it was a yearly.
There's too many variables.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go one step further, and this is gonna be like I've talked to these guys about
This is
it.
Tom McCutcheon-esque.
Yeah, this is gonna be weird to you guys, but to me, cloning versus reproduction, I don't know how I think there's a soul involved in reproduction. Cloning, I don't know. I mean, why would there be? I mean, it doesn't go through the same process of creating life. I mean, I know that sounds stupid and deep to a lot of people, but to me, I think there's a soul involved. I think every great athlete.
That totally sounds like nothing that I ever expected to come out of Tom McCutcheon's mouth.
Talking about soul.
Wow.
Yeah. I think every great athlete has that something special in them.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can just clone it and
just recreate
reproduce it by just purely these cells and those cells.
Just to tee off on what you're talking about, you look at how our industry breeds horses and the research and the time and the effort and the years and years and years of trying to get to where you are. You've taken all that and turned it into a lab procedure.
Yeah.
And
100%.
you're right. It takes the heart out of the whole process.
Yeah.
That uncertainty to me is like what can really be monumental at the end of the day.
Yeah. And we've all seen it, and you've seen it, we've seen it. I think there's some horses that have been great with some guys that wouldn't have been great with other guys.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's fits, and there's the whole process, and this horse fits this program and not that program. We've seen it in the cutting and the reining and the cow horse.
Racing, everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, no. So getting back to what you do. So the snaffle bit association. So you step in there, and you ran it from 2012 to 2020.
Yep.
And it basically doubled in size. You were instrumental in moving it to Fort Worth, which we've talked about with all the cow horse people that we've had on the show.
Right.
Everybody says best thing that ever happened. But it probably came with a little bit of resistance.
It did.
He got fired from the job. I mean, he took a better job or a different, not a better job. He took a different job. But
You know, it was, I truly understood the heritage of where Rain Cow Horse came from. It is definitely born out of California, and all the background that was involved in that. The problem nowadays, and this is not necessarily a diss on California, but California is not what it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. You know, it used to be a very rich, abundant agricultural state, a lot of cattle ranches, a lot of horse farms, and now it's becoming more and more impossible to do that. And I think to get in front of that, my idea is why not bring that to where the mecca of the Western horse industry is. And it made sense to bring it to Fort Worth. There was a lot of West Coasters that did not like me very much at that time, but it exploded our industry. I mean, it blew it up. And we had, you remember, because y'all were there, the first year of the World's Greatest and the first year of the Snaffle Bit. We actually moved World's Greatest there first as kind of a test run. But as soon as it came to Fort Worth, we had cutters and reiners and everybody that was getting involved in the Rain Cow Horse. And getting all those like-minded people together and bringing that association here, it was just good common business sense. And I was very happy once we got over the hump. One of my biggest critics during that time, the first year we did the Snaffle Bit, walked up to me and said, "You're right. This is fantastic here." I mean, you remember the World's Greatest, what it was like the first year. I mean,
And was
you
that an
cannot, you
old-
cannot put anybody else in there with a shoehorn.
Was that an old school guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Coaster.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I get it because, you know, Gunny and I flew out there we had to go chaperone Mandy and Monica one year.
we went to the last one in Reno just to say we were there.
Yeah.
And it was, the history out there it was special.
It was.
And it was cool for us to go, and I'm glad we did.
I got to pee next to Nick Dowers.
That's right. We've covered that in other shows.
Yeah,
Yes,
I just like
several.
I just like reminding you guys.
And a lot of people know about it.
Yeah, well,
That's one of Gunny's highlights.
Yeah.
So,
Claim to fame.
but I think that it takes, so you're a marketing guy, right? That's your background.
Yeah.
I mean, the horses, obviously, with the polo and stuff,
Right.
with the marketing. But, I grew up from a little kid. Reno was where the cow horse thing, every video I've ever saw, everything was about Reno. So it was fun. And you could sense the history out there. But, I think it would have been hard. I think it would have never moved here if it would have been the same group of cow horse guys that have the history there. It took somebody coming in.
it took somebody with balls.
Yeah, and
vision.
not necessarily from I'm saying from the outside. You are a little bit from the outside because you went from marketing background, and they hired you for that reason. And it took that vision and that, I think, distancing yourself from that history and say, listen, guys, you want this to grow, we need to move it here. And I mean, everybody we talk to says absolutely the best decision ever made.
Yeah, it was hard. I had a lot of sleepless nights and was under a lot of scrutiny and criticism at that time. And I was concerned, putting all this effort into it, it could very easily move here and fall flat on its face. But I knew there were some key components here that I felt would really support the move. One, a very expensive one, is an abundance of cattle. Reno was difficult. We had access to cattle, but they were expensive, and they're still 3 hours away. Here, they're 45 minutes away. The other thing, too, is you're coming into a market where you've got the cutters already here. You've got the reiners here, and you're bringing something in that combines both those disciplines that everybody, like you guys, you all come to the snaffle bit and to the world's greatest to watch. So I had a built-in spectator base there, knowing that would come support it. All the cow horse people would fly out here in December to go to the cutting sale. They all fly to Oklahoma City to go to the reining sale.
That horse sale had to change tremendously.
It's night and day difference, and that was kind of the springboard that really helped the association start to thrive. Is we upped our membership. We were selling 10 times the amount of tickets that we had ever sold for spectators. We were selling out the Justin. I remember every year that we were doing the world's greatest, and I will say this, and I never thought they should have moved the world's greatest out of the Justin into the Coliseum. I think that event works better in the Justin because the electricity of that room.
It was very
shoulder to
cool.
shoulder.
It was.
It just, and it's bright and you can see, and the wall's better to go down. This is my personal opinion. But they moved it for a reason, to accommodate more spectators, and I get that. But it just took off, and it was at a time where a lot of people were really attracted to it. And there's, how our disciplines are. We kind of get in a bubble to where we kind of only watch what we do, and if there's not something readily available to go compare it to, we don't get out of our box that much. Flying to Reno for you guys is a trip. It's a haul out
Right.
there. Same if you're on the West Coast, to fly here to watch cutting futurity or watch the reining futurity. You just don't get that crossover a lot, but dropping it right here in the middle of the central location for the horse industry, it made perfect sense.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
easy access.
Yeah.
And if you're going to Reno, you're going to Reno to watch the cow horse futurity and gamble.
Yep.
And that's it.
And breakfast at Big Ed's, and that's about it.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
We didn't do that.
We
no.
didn't get
that
that.
Nobody told us about
Nobody
that.
told us that. That wasn't in the brochure.
That's one of the things I do miss about Reno is they had some really good restaurants out there.
But, you come here, people can fly into Dallas, and they can go
Anywhere in the world.
anywhere. Within
Yeah.
within 30 miles, they can go see the best reiners, the
Yeah.
best cutters, the best cow horses, the best everything. So what made you, well, obviously it's probably the money, but what made you transition from the cow horse to the cutting?
I love my time at the cow horse, and it really brought my life back full circle of where I'd been, growing up and deciding that I wanted to be involved kind of in the horse industry, and then that not working out as I had envisioned, and leaving it for a while, going to work in the conventional business world. I was a marketing director for Red Bull, which absolutely set the stage for everything I do now. It was an unbelievable company. I went to work there right when they were getting a foothold on the U.S. We did major event productions. I did one in the stockyards that had a $6 million budget to create a huge motocross track with. So it opened my mind on the other side to see of ways to promote and push things, and I just kind of combined those two to work in the come back and work in the horse industry. Hired on at the cow horse, I had kind of gotten to a point where there's not really any more real estate left on the wall for me to sell signage to. I gotten the two events propped up. I built the membership. I had achieved the goal that I had set forth, to be hired for, and what I wanted to do personally. And I was ready for another challenge. and NCHA was in real bad shape. They were in very bad shape, and this goes a lot deeper than just the horse world. I think this is a culture that's in danger, and there's been, thankfully, over the past couple of years, some things to help prop it up and put it out front. But at that time, when I made that decision, we didn't have a Taylor Sheridan or a Yellowstone, or it wasn't necessarily in vogue to be wearing cowboy hat and boots and, you know, hanging around horses. And fortunately, during COVID, a lot of that
switched.
reversed. I will tell you, early on in my career at NCHA, they hired me. My official start date was January 2020. My wife and I packed up everything. We sold our house in Dallas, moved to Fort Worth, and the first weekend we got there and we're unpacking, they had shut down everything. And I'm like, I think I just made the biggest mistake in my life. And but working through that year, we got a lot of things done, and we can touch on that in a minute, some of the things we were able to do. But I think overall, it reinvigorated the popularity of Western culture in the world, and it has just gone up, up, up for us. And but NCHA had been through some struggles. I think they had been through 5 executive directors in less than 5 years, and they were kind of at a point where they were willing to accept help.
And the one before you was like months, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5 months he was there.
47 days, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does somebody go there and stay for 47 days and then leave, though?
Well, I think part of it was kind of the culture of the organization.
He couldn't achieve what he needed to get out of it.
Well, it was.
I mean, not. I don't know anybody's name. I'm just curious.
I'm not talking about personalities, but it's someone had come out of a very different field to be hired into that position.
Gotcha.
And it just didn't
Didn't G-Haw.
And then the other side where it was deep ingrained people in the industry that were trying to run it too. So, and that's a problem associations deal with all over the.
Oh, I can't think of a better transition to go from the cow horse to the cutting, because you can't. There's not really anything else that's that similar.
Right.
I mean, to have the success you had in the cow horse, to me, that was kind of a no-brainer for them to go after you. For
Well,
the
they had been trying to recruit me for about 3 years, and I was real happy at the cow horse. I mean, I had gotten to a point where I felt it was kind of on autopilot. Yes, I still push to make our shows better, have big payouts, grow our membership, promote what we do. I still think it's a fantastic association with a great event. It's sure fun to watch, and especially if you're any kind of horse person, you cannot not appreciate what those guys do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
You get jacked up and pumped up just for the atmosphere they put on. Like, they put on a show with the fireworks, the announcer, the music. Like, the whole production, to me, of going to a cow horse show is the best.
I'll tell you a funny story. So they hired me in 12. The first show I went to was the Derby in Paso Robles. And we're having a riders meeting. And I don't know hardly any of these guys. I know who some of them are, like Todd and Teddy Robinson and those guys. But I'm kind of sitting there, and they're asking a lot of questions and everything. And Jake Telford stands up, and he goes, "All right, it's time for your initiation." And I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "Follow me." We walk out to the arena, and Ricky Nicolossi's standing there at the end of the arena with Sula Jewel. And he goes, "Get on, you're going down the fence."
Nice.
So I ride in there. I have no flipping clue what I'm doing at all. I ride in there, slide stop, spin the horse around and walk up, call for the cow, box it, take off down the fence, turn it twice, circle it in the arena, pull up and stop. And I'd only seen it, like, videos of it. I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
And they're all loud. I mean, the grandstands, they have those metal stands in Paso Robles, and they're banging on them and everything. And I just had this huge adrenaline dump, and I was like shaking. And Avala's there. He's like, "That a boy, shows you got some balls, you know." And
That's cool. That's
it
really
was
cool.
it was a great indoctrination to there because from my background, I obviously know how to ride at speed and rate
Right.
on an animal. The only mistake I made is I went down the wrong side. I went down the crowd side, not on the other side. But you know, and then I was at the snaffle bit, and you had mentioned something about the production quality.
Yeah.
I remember walking in there and telling the announcer, I said, "Turn that fucking music up."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What?" And I said, "Turn it up." I said, "We need to get some energy in this room." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay." And then, you know, you have the old timers there. They're like, "Can you turn that down?" But from that point on, I started adding those production elements over and over to what we do. And
It's amazing now.
we'd have to dial it back for the futurity a little bit because of the 3-year-olds. And there were certain aspects you couldn't do, like especially during the herd work because you couldn't hear their help. But man, you get into the fence work, let's crank it up and let's go.
Yeah.
You know? And through the world's greatest, the move of the world's greatest, we did add a lot of production. That's where we started doing the kind of the grand entry and all the stuff that added to that because it is a spectacle. It's something to watch. We do add some elements now in the cutting that have helped us, but that is a different deal. It's a different deal. So I look for other ways to up the game of what we're doing at NCHA.
Well, to me, and not to, and I think the cow horse people that we're all friends with would agree. The thing about that, so you're the head of the cutting now, and we do the reining. The cow horse is pretty much average reining, average cutting, and then it is kick ass down the fence.
Right.
The fence work is as a reiner. I respect what some of the maneuvers. There's still some very special horses,
Right.
But as far as an actual reining run, not great.
Right.
As far as an actual cutting run, not great. The fact that you have to do them all, it's great because it's super hard to train one horse to do all three. I'm taking nothing away from it, but if you took it as a standalone, that part's not great. The cutting's not great, but down the fence is just.
That's the only reason we watch.
Yeah, that's why we watch.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the fun part to go see. So I think that's what we have in the reining is you go to the reining fraternity, there is not a better, or the NRBC or the Derby, there's not a better reining anywhere in the world. You go to the NCHA fraternity, I mean, it's still special.
Yep.
It's still, and I think what makes the NCHA fraternity even more special than the reining is that, I mean, it's not, the reining's still great to watch, but I think that what differentiates you guys, nobody's seen those horses before.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you get to the fraternity, our fraternity, we kind of already know. The judges have seen these horses at the Congress, and they've seen them
At the cutting
here.
fraternity, they have no idea who's going to
No idea.
Yeah.
No, and that's been proven. I mean, it was proven a couple of years ago. You had a gal out of Oklahoma riding a $35,000 horse that won the futurity, and that horse was amazing that night.
Yeah.
And people that, and multi-million-dollar trainers, we were talking with Matt Gaines last week, multi-million-dollar trainers train up 6 of them horses, pick their 2, and they missed the finals on their 2 or one of their 2, and the few they give up to somebody else ended up placing in the top.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot, but I mean, you described it correctly. Yes, Saturday night in December in Will Rogers, it's pretty electric too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that you need the music in the atmosphere
It's
that the
it's
cow
a
horse
different
does.
deal.
It's a more, I don't know. It seems like it's more revolved around the history of that.
Yeah, the
building.
tradition.
The tradition. I mean, that's where Smart Little Lena was in that building.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Bill Freeman.
Bill Freeman. Yeah.
So now, how do you work since being at Red Bull and I mean, you're having fireworks,
Max
go off
Verstappen.
and
Yeah.
doing all that stuff. How do you not do too much of that and lose the tradition of the horse? You know, the horse shows.
The main thing that I brought to, and I feel has been my biggest contribution, is the way these associations push their content out. Because used to be, it was just like somebody will post a video of a run on Facebook. We actually have a creative department now at NCHA, and a lot of this we will take and build a story.
Hint, hint.
build a
me,
story
sorry.
around a horse or an event, and if you've ever watched any of the stuff that comes across our social channels, I mean, they do an amazing job with it. Content is king. I mean, it's what promotes your business, and we can steer that any way we want. We can focus on the horse, we can focus on the rider, we can focus on the event, we can focus on the location. There's a lot of different things.
It feels like in our part of the business, in the reining part of the business, that the trainers or the riders or the owners of the horses promote their own content. Doesn't feel like the NRHA does much for content for us.
Yeah, it's lacking.
Yeah. I think they're getting better. They're trying. They implemented a new program where.
But we've said it forever. I mean, you watch. Okay, the Mavericks are going to play the Lakers, and they show. Well, okay, hurts my heart.
Yeah,
a little
right.
bit. Used to be Luka and LeBron.
We actually are Lakers fans now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he said the Lakers out of love, right?
Yeah. We don't like Nico anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, when they promote that game, they promote this star and that star.
Right.
And NASCAR, they promote their guys, and there's not a lot of horse organizations that really get behind their guys. And I don't know if it's because it's not big enough to where people feel like if association is not, well, you can answer this question better than anybody. Do you feel like those associations, the cow horse, the cutting, the stuff you've been involved with, you would catch some flack by promoting certain guys?
I've experienced it. Why didn't you put my horse in there, and why did you put Tom's in?
Right.
And that's just, it's not done out of preference. It's done on who is the biggest at the time or has the best story. I've got 2 episodes of a docuseries sitting in the can that we've done on a rider out of California. Very talented, open rider, but it's not Matt Gaines and it's not Austin Shepard. It's a guy that's kind of middle of the pack right now, who has a tremendous background story on how he got where he is. And it's, people need to understand we're promoting the industry in general, and everybody's a part of that. And
his story might inspire more people to watch Matt Gaines or Austin Shepard more.
It's relative, and I don't want to back myself into a corner here to where I say something that would offend anybody, because that is not what we're trying to do. We tell great stories about a really big cross cut of our membership, from the top riders all the way down. And I talk about her a lot. She shows on the weekends, and she's a 911 operator in Dallas and has a Tahoe with a 2-horse trailer, and loads up her horse and works all week, keeps the horse in kind of her backyard and has a flag. And that's a great story. That's a great story.
Yeah, so it's more accessible to everyone.
Right. You gotta, it's maintaining your elite status, and that's what the Open is. That's what the Futurity and all the limited age events are. But you also have to have it relatable to where people feel like they can get involved. And I think we as associations historically have not done a very good job of relaying that. In fact, it's just the opposite.
I feel like the NRHA
we're
is
exclusive up here, and unless you're at a certain level, you can't participate. I love the fact that we have the owner of the Dodgers, and we have the biggest supermodel in the world, and the biggest television producer in the world, and all these titans of industry. But I've also got like this lady coming and sitting in the stands watching the Futurity.
Wait a minute. Does Shohei Ohtani own a cutting horse? There's no damn way. You said L.A. Dodger. There's no way Shohei Ohtani owns
Owner of the Dodgers.
The owner.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I must say,
he's got
Ohtani owning a cutting
Ohtani's
horse.
here. The owner's here.
No.
Yeah.
Ohtani's a big deal.
Yeah. No, I know.
He's got a round head.
Sorry,
probably, too.
I interrupt people sometimes.
But it's a great cross cut of people, and NRHA has that too. Cow Horse has it too, and
We get a little bit too elitist in our deal. It's hard for the average person to access us, but that's a big reason why we've been doing this show too, is because we had more people come introduce themselves to us just by making them accessible to this camera.
Approachable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the second year that we did the World's Greatest Horseman in Fort Worth, Chris Cox walks up to me and goes, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" He goes, "You need to start smiling and saying hello to people." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You look unapproachable." And
You kind of know something about that.
Yeah, I can help you with that.
But
I'm very
I
approachable.
took it to heart, and I've really worked on it. And it's not that I'm walking around in a bad mood or whatever. It's just there's 10,000 things on my mind.
Yeah.
I get 50 text messages, and it's like, but I made a conscious effort. And I've actually relayed that philosophy to a lot of other people.
Could you relay it to Tom one more time? Because that's the other reason we started the show, because everybody thought he was an asshole, which he is.
Right.
But it's nice for people to get to know, our asshole.
But it does make, I will say, it has made a difference in, I try to be better at the horse shows because now I know there is a lot of people that watch this show. And I don't want them to, like, nothing pisses me off worse than if I like a series on TV and then that asshole comes out and starts spewing political bullshit. And I'm like, I don't even want to watch that anymore. Yeah. So,
or you meet them.
yeah, right.
And they're like, "Oh, hey," and turn around and walk
Yeah,
off.
right. So, I mean, we want people to be involved in the industry. We want people to watch the show. So, I'm not great at it because my normal face, when I'm thinking about something, I just don't look like that, you know?
RBF.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm thinking about something, like I have to consciously smile. I was not born with a smile, even though it has nothing to do with how I feel.
Right.
It's just that's the face that I got slapped with, and it's unfortunate.
I think
it's unfortunate
I
even
think
for my
it's-
wife, but
I think it's a part of where he grew up and how he was raised and who cleaned his stall and all that stuff, though, too.
I think everybody deals with that. I mean, I harking back to polo. There used to be a polo club in Plano. We were playing a Sunday afternoon game, and Tommy Lee Jones was playing there in Plano, and I was real excited because they had just done Lonesome Dove. We were playing on the same team, and my mom, I knew him pretty well. My mom came out there just to meet him because she was a big fan of his. I said, "Tommy Lee, I'd like you to meet my mother, Mary Ellen." He goes, "Hey," turns around and walks off. And she's like, "What an asshole,"
Yeah.
And it's just like you build up this
Yeah.
great, who this person is and completely yank the rug out.
And I will say one of the stars in our industry who is not, I mean, he's not an open rider, but Taylor Sheridan. I get to spend a lot of time around him at the horse shows because he rides with Cade. And he is so gracious with people. I mean, we're at the Cactus and he's up in 3 and some, random lady wants to get a picture with him. And, he's got people around him that kind of protect him from that. But he's like, no, that's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen him be rude to anybody. Have you, Mandy?
He's a little bit rude to us because he ducks this show all the time.
He knows you.
He never comes here.
He's not.
He's supposed to show up here.
He's not.
He's coming. He's coming.
They keep saying he's coming, but I think he's ducking, Jay.
Yeah. We don't tell Gunny everything.
Yeah.
So we might know something Gunny doesn't know.
Okay.
So, because you can't tell Gunny anything because you can't keep a secret.
Bullshit. I know everything.
I mean, he's had probably the biggest impact on our industry of anyone in the past 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
I as far as exposure and, I remember NCHA put together a TV commercial and ran it on season 4 of Yellowstone on the premiere and on episode 9 when they had a lot of large cutting scene in there. And I did a call to action for free membership. Of course, everything went gangbusters after that. But it really is just amazing. Of watching that season and watch when you went from season 4 into season 5. The next year, Tractor Supply came out with a commercial and it said, whether you're raising chickens or riding cutting horses,
Saw it.
and it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Came from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a great time to be in this industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And you know what you guys got too? How much exposure have you gotten from Adon and Bella?
Huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
They brought cutting horses in New York,
New York
City.
City.
that deal.
And she had her buttons unbuttoned.
That
it
deal.
was-
Phenomenal.
you know what I was paying attention to.
So just to put that in perspective, she put a little blurb on Instagram. It got 63 million views.
Wow.
I can't pay for that.
Can't
that's
buy it.
that's bigger than the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know? And it has been tremendous. And much like Taylor, I mean, she is awesome. Like you meet her and it's like she's known you her whole life.
Yep.
Especially with young people, kids. I had a friend in from North Carolina, and he was down participating in our military deal that we do, and his kids met her, and they went home, and he stayed, and they're like, "Can we please come back down because we want to see Bella again?" And he actually flew him back down, and she like hung out with him in the box seats while he was competing, and like, you know, it's just again. Great time to be in the industry.
Yeah. No, she was. We met her at the American last year,
Yeah.
and just I didn't even put because these people know. I don't really know people, so she walked up. I didn't even put two and two together. She was just very nice.
You
And,
see her at the show, she looks like a girl running around the horse show, you
Yeah.
know? And, but again, she's been a huge supporter of us.
That being said, also, Tom couldn't tell you the names of his employees that have worked there for 6 months. Hey, you, don't do that. Yeah.
Does she work for me?
Oh yeah, that happens a lot.
yeah.
Do you pay me or do I pay you?
This isn't about. We're talking about Jay.
That's right. I just, I like insulting you every chance I get.
Yeah, I know.
You give it back.
Almost introduced himself. We had a girl showing people around, showing them the studs and stuff. And he introduced himself to the people that were there looking at the studs. And he almost introduced himself to the girl at work press. And then he noticed she had a shirt on that said Tom McCutcheon.
She looks familiar.
Yeah, I said, I wonder where she got that shirt. Huh? Yeah. This is coming together now.
So, no, it's a good time. And I don't think we've seen this since the late 70s, early 80s, this interest, in Western culture in general.
Everything. Like the growth of the reining horse business, incredible too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, so I was looking up a horse show the other day, and I haven't done it forever. I was just going to look up a date. So I go on the NRHA website and click on 2024. And I was looking for a show. Well, it was the Derby last year in June. And I had to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. I mean, it's like, there are so many horse shows now. I mean, when I was growing up, there was maybe 25 or 30 shows a year.
Right.
Now there's 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and going back to touching on what Gunny said a little bit earlier, it is accessible to, if you want to go to the Futurity or you want to go to the Derby,
Right.
yeah, it's more difficult.
Right.
But there's a show every weekend around here in Hamilton, in Waco, in Ardmore, Graham.
Yeah.
Fort
I mean,
Worth.
there's a lot of places to go, and you guys have the same thing, right?
We have between 2,500 and 300, or 2,500 and 3,000 sanctioned shows a year globally.
52 weekends.
Yeah. You can cut every single weekend, especially in North Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I mean,
incredible.
I think Christmas is the only time that there's not anything going on.
Todd, we talked about it a little bit on Todd's episode, but I bet you guys run into it because you guys have so much business. Finding a facility that can host you for that long is probably getting tricky for you.
Yeah, we are Will Rogers' #1 client. We book out. We show over 90 days a year there and book out 110 days for our shows.
Wow.
And it's not just the facility and the time you're there; it's the ability to hold cattle. I mean, I run between 40 and 50,000 head of cattle a year through that facility, and there's not a lot of places in the country you can do that.
So Speaking of that,
Logistics.
do you have people that do all that, or do you kind of just say, okay, your job is the cattle, your job is this, your job is that, or do you get involved?
I'm involved in some aspects of that. I've kind of worked it now to where my show department handles the procurement of cattle. We did have a cattle committee, and we did have a dedicated individual that would go out and look at cattle, but I wanted to get that closer, and we made some changes. We went back to an old supplier that had a really good history of supplying quality cattle for us, and we now run that through our show department, and a individual that is a volunteer of the association. He's a cow guy that shows horses, and he's a very talented showman. So he knows both ends of the spectrum there. But, it is tough right now to find cattle, and it is expensive. And I don't see it getting any cheaper anytime soon. But I am working extremely hard on trying to continue to vertically integrate the NCHA, where we have control of everything. And we are talking about some ideas that are going to come up in convention that may change the way we go about our cattle procurement in the future.
Are you saying maybe have your own cattle operation?
It's all, I can't really get into great detail, but that obviously it's been discussed for a very, very, very long time. It's just never been acted on. And we're in pretty good shape financially, and I think it's worth taking a look at.
Yeah.
We should all three associations should partner on a facility too. Somewhere
Well,
centrally located.
Like
where-
Weatherford.
Yeah, Weatherford would be great.
Yeah.
Denton would be even better.
Yeah, Denton would be best.
That's I kind of pulled a snaffle bit deal on the NCHA a couple of years ago, and I went and talked to Weatherford, and they bought 300 acres right next to Teskey's, and that is in discussion continually about a facility going up there.
Here's the thing, though: is there enough days? With all of our majors, once in a while we overlap days.
I think it could work.
Yeah,
there's enough arenas.
I think overlapping days in a horse association owned facility could be easier logistically than dealing with outside influences of other facilities.
You're not dealing with the gun show and the llama show and the gymnastics tournament and the ballet recitals and everything else.
And I feel it was a little bit of a disappointing last year because if I'm not mistaken, your finals was the same weekend as our finals, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's never happened. And I had feedback from a lot of people flying in from Europe that were disappointed because they could go to ours one weekend
Come down
and then
to
yours
ours.
the next
Yeah.
weekend, and now they had to choose.
And they said it was all your fault. I mean,
Yeah.
they 100% blamed you.
I will take the blame for it. I will tell you, it wasn't really my fault because it had to hinge around leap year and the way our dates shifted. I actually had the commissioner from NRHA pull up to my office. He called me like 3 days in a row asking me to move it, and I came into work one morning and sitting in the parking lot, and it's like, can you move your dates? I'm like, no, I can't. I mean, this is trying to turn a battleship around in a bird bath. We can't change it. I realize there's some crossover, but with our show being 30 days long,
Right.
there's not a lot of room in the bookends, to move.
Why did that happen last year?
So partially it was based around stock show and leap year. Will Rogers sets their calendar on MLK Day, and MLK Day is the start of the Fort Worth Stock Show historically.
Which is January.
Right. So it came late. This is 2023. Yeah, 2023. No, 2024. It came late that year, so the stock show started later, which pushed us on top of you guys. It came later or early. I can't remember which.
Will it be on top of us again this year?
No, I don't think
And
so.
they pushed our show back a little bit too because they expanded the schedule, didn't they?
Did y'all add days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had it at the front.
Yeah, in the
Yeah, at
beginning.
the front end.
Yeah.
At the front, at the beginning.
Yeah, because you want a Saturday night finish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We had it at
that
the
was
front.
one of the first things I changed at cutting. They,
At the cutting.
yeah, for some reason they thought it was a good idea to have the finals on Sunday, and when
Yeah.
I had some of the old timers, they're like,
The semis
"Why would you
were
do that?
Saturday.
That's not tradition." I said, "Yeah, but it's like it's a school night, and nobody's going to come out.
Yeah. Right.
You know, you want a Saturday night finish. Let's make it a big deal where people, even if you're there till 9:30 at night, you can still go out to eat afterwards and celebrate your win,
drink,
or
or-
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Then you
everybody.
pack up on Sunday and go home. You're home Monday. You
Yeah.
know?
It dampens the mood considerable when you got to get up the next
Just
morning and go to
completely
work.
flattens
Yes.
it out.
Yeah.
If you're like me on a Saturday night, you just go back to bed at 8:30. It's no big deal. I like going to bed. I'm getting old now, though, Jay.
The only thing too that I want to say about a little bit about your past, your history, working at Red Bull and stuff. I can tell you now, I don't really like Red Bull. I prefer Ranch Fuel.
Ranch fuel.
I
a lot better than Red Bull.
I can't drink a Red Bull. I just don't like the taste. But these cream orange cream ranch fuels,
Cream orange.
yeah,
Custom.
custom. You can get it custom. It's my favorite.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's orange cream orange.
Yeah.
You just,
Doesn't
which way you
matter.
turn it.
No, it is cream orange when you put it in vodka, and it's orange cream when you drink it straight. Just depends on how you're looking at it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I bet it was cool working at Red Bull, though. I
Yeah,
bet
that
you got
had-
to
that
meet.
had been
Did you
fun,
meet
huh?
Travis Pastrana?
Oh yeah, I knew Travis. I'll tell you a funny story
Nice.
about Travis real quick.
Now, were you there when he did the double backflip the first
Yes.
time?
We had just finished producing the Red Bull X Fighters in Fort Worth. And if you know where Billy Bob's is, there's a 30-acre field on the east side where they used to do the Red Dirt Roundup. We built the largest freestyle motocross track there that's ever been built, 19,000 square yards of dirt, 35,000 seats of grandstands. Had the mayor there, master of ceremonies. We did a cattle drive. We had a live bull riding that the riders were jumping over. It was all this rodeo themed motocross deal. But Travis was in town. He skydived into the event as one of the MCs.
Of course.
And we had got done. We were cooked. It was the middle of summer. Everybody was as red as that cup, after this event. And we're finally all done. The fireworks gone off. We handed out the awards and everything. Got it on TV. Had a fire in the production trailer 5 minutes before we were supposed to go live, but we had pulled it off. So I get home. I stayed in Fort Worth that night. I get home Sunday late because we had tear down and everything. And I get home late and I get a phone call, and it's one of the guys from our sports marketing department. He goes, "You got a videographer you could call?" And I'm like, "Right now it's like 9:30 on Sunday night." And he goes, "Yeah, we need him down at Victory Park. Travis is going to base jump off the W Hotel tonight." So he had gone up to Ghost Bar, which was a club at the top of the W.
we've heard of it.
And he talked the bouncer into letting him get up there and do this. Well, we sat literally, there was no game going on or anything. We sat there in Victory Park in the plaza on the steps waiting and waiting. They had radios. They had a van that was driving around that was going to pick him up as soon as he landed so they could get him out of there. And we waited till about 2:30 in the morning, and he never jumped because it was too windy. He was afraid he was going to crash into one of the buildings.
Yeah.
But Travis is an unbelievable guy, does some unbelievable stuff. I've got a case of signed Red Bull cans by Travis that they're so old now, there's nothing in them. The stuff's all evaporated out of them. But he's a try anything once guy.
He jumped out of a freaking airplane in a pair of boxer shorts or something.
No parachute.
With no parachute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He jumped out of a plane with no parachute, going, "Hey guys, come get me."
They did that down in Baja. He had a rappelling harness under his shorts, and he holds up the can. And he goes, their taglines give you. He goes, "I hope this stuff works," and he bails out.
Yeah.
And these two guys swoop in and hook up to him. But
Yeah, that was nuts.
yeah, I met a lot of those guys. I knew all the X Games. We used to do the Winter X every year up in Aspen, which was really cool. Going to Red Bull College in Austria, Sean White was in my my class.
Sean White,
And we did a big deal out in Hawaii, this big international meeting, and it brought everybody in to the Hilton Resort there in Kona. Took over the whole place, and they had all the athletes there. They had the Formula One team was there and set up a go-kart track in the parking lot, and skydivers, all the BMX guys.
Sebastian Vettel, was he a Red Bull guy then?
Not then. That was when Coulthard was driving for F1, but had Snoop Dogg perform
Snoop
for us.
Dizzle Dog.
So
That's cool.
it was a fun company at the time.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
I'm sure, I mean, when you look at companies, the growth there is probably much better. Like your room to grow there was probably much better. Was it the horses that drew you back into the...
It was. I will
this
tell you
industry?
what. Red Bull. I could foresee the writing on the wall that I had a time limit there, because they like to hire young people, and it's because they work you about 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they want young, innovative, fresh ideas. There was not a whole lot of people over the age of 45 working there, and if they were way up in upper management, and I saw a lot of turnover while I was there towards the latter part. First 5 years was really stable, and they were still kind of getting their feet underneath them. But I gotten home from an event, I was tired, just worn out, gotten sick. My wife and I had just got married. I had 4 days to get married and go on my honeymoon, and I had to be back, and I was just like, there is nothing for me here. And as far as I don't see any foreseeable future of this getting better or becoming a vice president or,
Right.
you know. And through that event that I did in Fort Worth, I had I had established a relationship with the guys at Hatco, which is Resist All Stetson. And I'll tell you a little more about my
I imagine they were a sponsor of that deal
they
too.
were.
Yeah.
About my history with them here in a second. But that is kind of what pulled me back into the Western lifestyle and got me kind of back closer to the horse deal, because I had not played polo and I'd not sat on a horse in 10 years while I was working at Red Bull. And when I went to Hatco, a friend of mine, polo friend of mine, had passed away. Went to his funeral, ran into all my old buddies, and they're like, "Oh, you need to come out here and play. We've moved up to Little Elm and got this deal going." And come, literally 2 weeks after that funeral, I flew to Aiken, South Carolina, and bought 2 horses. Started riding again. Hatco had gone through some ownership changes, and while I liked it, I knew that was not where I wanted to be. And heard about the opening at the Rain Cow Horse, and I literally was late getting in on the interview process. They asked me to fly out to Vegas and interview. I had to pay my own way out there. I said, "Yeah, I'll roll the dice," you know. And they hired me on the spot.
Who was the committee at that time that decided that?
It was Telford and Bergen were on it. Paul Bailey, Todd Crawford. I mean, it's all people you know.
Yeah.
That committee has kind of remained intact for a while. There was a big changeover, like right before I came in. A lot of the executive committee members and the board of directors had changed. Some of the people dropped off, but the core group was Todd Crawford, Paul Bailey, Jake Telford, Todd Bergen.
It's all good people to work with.
Good folks. Yeah.
So you dazzled them, or you the only one that showed up?
No, there was a couple others that showed up. One of them who you know, I know you know, but I just came kind of a fresh perspective that I didn't think they had ever heard before, and it worked to my benefit. You know, it's funny because people say, "Oh, polo, how do you connect to the Western performance horse industry?" Well, it's kind of the same way that I connected with Hatco. I knew Hatco made Resist All Stetson because in high school I worked at Cutter Bill Western Wear, shaping hats. So I had an understanding of the hat background. Mm-hmm. Also, too, Cutter Bill was owned by Rex Cobble, and big.
Was that in
horse owner.
Houston?
That was in Dallas.
That was
There's
in
one
Dallas then?
Houston as well.
Yeah.
I was on LBJ in Preston, but I rodeoed a little bit in high school. My rodeo coach was Punk Carter. So while I've not been...
Punk's been on the show.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
He's awesome. A buddy of mine dated his daughter in high school. And, you know, while I've not been directly involved, I've always been very connected with that group.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's quite a ride you've been on. I mean, and like I said, everybody I talk to it's a tough job because there's going to be people that are, no matter what you do,
You're going to do it wrong.
yeah, you're going to do it wrong.
There's
I mean,
still,
And if you do it right for them, it's going to be wrong for somebody
there
else.
still is, but I see each year that goes by, it gets less and less and less. And I'll be honest, the results are there. NCHA is in the best financial shape it's ever been in since it's ever started. I mean, substantially. Look at our payouts
yeah,
and what we're doing. And that was one of the biggest pushes I made when I got there. I mean, you combine that with the incentives that are out there right now. I mean, these riders are making a ton of money.
yeah.
And that's what I want to do.
So I called around and asked a few people, you know, beforehand, just chit-chatting about, you know, the job you're doing and whatnot. And that's the one thing that everybody said was it was important to you to have the payouts be big.
Yeah.
And is that because you're trying to benefit the riders, or is that because it brings more eyes to the sport, or both?
It benefits, it's the whole cycle of our industry. Big purses attract big owners that want to pay big money for horses, which inspires breeding. It all comes full circle.
Which makes 2-year-olds bring $1 million at the
Yeah.
sale.
That was an awesome story that
Yeah.
day. When
It
that
was,
guy-
it was phenomenal.
that was unbelievable.
And we've had a lot more since then.
I know,
You
but
know?
that one where he got off in the middle of the damn preview and like he couldn't even ride the dang thing anymore.
Yeah.
Tell that story, because not everybody. I don't know the
Wes
story.
Ashlot and
Yeah.
Would She Be Magic? I don't know a whole lot of the story other than that horse, I think, got 1.2 million in the sale block. And
Yeah.
he was out there riding it. And I mean, Gunny's riding.
He quit riding
He
it
was-
at
he was about to-
600,000. He
He was
just
about to collapse. I mean, and he's out there hugging it and crying, and his whole family's there. And I mean, it's like being at Keeneland, you know,
Yeah.
when those are Arab prices that
Yeah.
they're paying for cutting horses.
Yeah, for sure. And
and she turned out to be great too.
Yeah.
And I mean,
and can be life-changing money for a horse trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in talking about that too, like I said earlier, starting in 2020 and moved over in March and the whole world turning upside down, that was my biggest fear when I came in, is that not just for us, but the horse industry in general, is this going to be the thing that craters the whole thing? Because we know how people respond when things get tight, and the hobbies are usually the first to go. I went to the office every single day. Every single day. I would sit in an empty office by myself, and I talked to, I brought in a lobbyist down in Austin to help us get the NCHA events and, quite frankly, horse shows in general back into phase 2 at Reopen Texas, because I was thinking about these trainers, and I'm not talking about, you know, the big names that we all know. I'm talking about the guy who's a limited or intermediate rider that's got a half a dozen horses for himself and a dozen or so of non-pros, that he has to have that every single month coming in to support himself. Well, you lose 2, 3, 4 of those, and it's catastrophic.
Right.
So we had to get everything up and going again as soon as possible. We did lose our Super Stakes. That show canceled, but we were showing in July. So in a very short time, we were able to kind of get that up and going again. And the 2020 Futurity was absolutely miserable, going around, put your mask on. You need to put your mask on. And, you know, how do I tell someone like a Don to put a mask on? You know, he's like,
Yeah.
it's
And how
and it
worse
puts
yet,
me in a position being new there that, you know.
how do you
I'm
tell
trying
Cookie to put a mask
Yeah.
on? You know.
I called everybody up in the balcony. I said, you know what, guys? I said, I'm sorry, and y'all are going to hate me for this, but I'm going to have to cancel the show. And they're like, what? I said, if y'all are not going to wear your masks, they're going to shut us down. And changed it.
Yeah.
It changed it quick.
They have to understand it's not your decision.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's
You're
decision.
just the
and
messenger
you gotta,
they're shooting.
Yeah. That year sucked, but I also think that year was the Kickstarter of what has happened. Because
catalyst.
you think about, and going back to the Yellowstone popularity, people were quarantined in their house and they're binge watching this show that's had a little bubble up, but it really did not take off until 20. I mean, with the popularity of it. And all of a sudden everybody came out of it. And you look at what happened with these people moving out of the major metropolitan areas to the country. Tractor Supply's sales that year were at an all-time high because people were moving out of the country and, buy a farm, I'm going to set up a chicken coop and a garden, and I got all this. Well, you know what we need to get the girls or the kids or whatever? A horse. That's the gateway. Mm-hmm. That's the gateway. I've studied this immensely, and I give this whole dissertation about how this is a cycle that happens over time. It's happened since the early 1900s. But you go back to when World War I happened, and it was the start of the silent movie cowboy. Well, that was the first iteration of it that made Western culture really popular and relatable. Fast forward a few years later, World War II. Shortly after World War II, you had Roy Rogers and the Lone Ranger and all that. Fast forward through Vietnam, and I'm kind of the last generation of the TV Western to where you literally 7 nights a week you could turn on the TV and there were 2 Westerns on.
Bonanza. Gunsmoke.
Fast forward to the late 70s, early 80s, very similar time to where we're at right now. The Carter administration was very similar to what we just got out of. The oil embargo, the Iran hostage deal, the economy was in the tank. It was real confusing. We had, much like now, we had the global pandemic and all this chaos going on. Movie comes out called Urban Cowboy.
Yeah.
The Paint Horse Association, highest membership they ever. That movie came out in the fall of '79. The highest membership the Paint Horse Association ever had was 1983 or 84, 83 or 84.
A few years after.
What kind of horse do people buy that don't know anything about horse?
Paint horse.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
and we get it. I mean, they're color breeds. They're cool. It's what you want.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 85, 86. That's when the NCHA took off and really got big. So the guys dancing disco 1979 trades in his platforms and his polyester for a cowboy hat and a pair of boots. And I was part of it. I was working at a Western store. I was in high school making $3,000 a month creasing cowboy hats and living at home. I saw it, everybody, when that movie blew up. They buy the hat, they buy the boots, they buy the pickup truck, they go country dancing. Now I got my paint horse. What am I going to do? I'm going to sell the paint horse because I want to cut a rope. I want to ride a reiner.
Yeah.
And that's a very similar thing that is happening right now. And what it's caused by is in times of turmoil, people want to return to things that are comfortable to them. And nothing better represents the comfort of America than the American cowboy. You wear a hat anywhere in the world. You guys know this.
Just
We're from
compliments.
Texas.
People are
You're from
nice.
Texas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people talk to you
Yeah.
in airports. You can walk by and nobody knows. They don't even pay attention to where they're walking most of the time. But if you walk through there with a cowboy hat on, nice hat. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Yeah,
They
you a
always say
cowboy?
something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
So
that's
we
pretty
need
cool.
to capitalize on that, all of us. Whether you ride reiners, cutters, cow horses, team rope, whatever.
Agreed. And that, I think, and I don't know
You
if
bring all these people in because it is going to shake out at times, but you'll be amazed how they may enter through one avenue and wind up at a completely different spot.
For sure.
Interesting to get your opinion on this. I think part of in the reining, what helps is, so 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was really limited or no social media. Now, everybody's got their own social media person at a horse show.
Yeah.
So it is getting pumped out 100 times what it was 15 years ago. And it's not just, if it's on social media, it's not just people in the horse business. I mean, it links to your friends and my friends and his. I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about. I don't, but I do know that if he shares it, then his friends that don't have anything to do.
Save that clip where he says he doesn't know what he's talking about. I need that.
If he shares it, then his friends that don't have anything to do with horses see it, and I mean, it just reaches so many more people.
Well, you go back and look at how a lot of these associations have been staffed and administrated. And again, I don't mean this as a derogatory throw on any of them. They've come a long way. They've been around for years and years and years, and obviously have survived through ups and downs. But a lot of people that were involved, whether it's promotions, management, administration, are there because they came out of the horse business of riding horses, training horses, showing horses, and self-included. I mean, I'm part of that. But it's kind of like that was their only pathway to go. And I think now what you're seeing and just what you're talking about, you have people that are really specializing in that one aspect of the industry, whether it's marketing stallions or creating social media content for a rider to help gain endorsements. There's a lot more fields. There's a lot more fields. There's a lot more fields available to people than there was. Also, too, your social media analogy, that is the single best way to recruit people. I stood up in a meeting at our convention because they were talking about a lot of ideas to promote membership and get members involved. They were talking about direct mail and putting stuff out online and doing all this email blasts and everything. And I go, how many of you people joined NCHA and started cutting because you got a piece in the mail? Nobody raised their hand. And I go, how many people came here because you knew somebody that cut and got involved? And that's kind of going to be one of my big next campaigns is bring a friend.
Yeah.
Find somebody in the industry and bring them.
We were kind of lucky during the Yellowstone stuff. They had the show come on afterwards, The Last Cowboy, where you got to know the riders and know their stories personally. And for me, watching Netflix now, I love the F1 series because you get to know drivers. I love the Full Swing Golf because you get to know the guy.
Right.
They're just your friends on TV now. Even though you don't know them, you feel like you get a part of them to know them.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of access to people now. I wish we would do that more where we're more accessible to people.
That F1 series, and I tout that a lot because a lot of people don't know, but Red Bull's one of the executive producers of that.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I tell a story like when I worked at Red Bull, I had access to all that and go to any race I want. You know,
Can you still go? I wouldn't mind going
we
to
still
Austin.
go. I've been.
I wouldn't mind going
I've been to 3 races.
Sorry, I told him not to ask for free stuff, but
It's
I'll pay.
it actually blew up Formula One. I mean, would you gone to Formula One 5 years ago?
No, I wouldn't even be interested in
wife's-
Formula One
my
now.
wife's the same way.
I'm ecstatic with it now. I check the stats. I love it now, just from knowing the drivers.
We get home from the barn, and it's a hot, like, Saturday afternoon, and I'm laying on the couch, and that series pops up on Netflix, and I turn the first episode on, and she's going up and down the stairs, and she's like, what are you watching? And I said, it's this deal about F1, and she stops and starts watching it, and next thing you know, she's sitting on the arm of the couch, and then she's down in the couch, and then it's like 3 episodes later, she's like, this is awesome, you know? Yeah. A year later, we went to Monaco, we went to Monza, we went to Austin.
I'd love to
I
go to
couldn't
Monaco.
have drug her to a race
Right.
Yeah.
before that.
No, Megan's the same way. She hates watching golf, but she loves that that
You
one
get to know the
series.
people.
Yeah, she loves it.
Like Joel Damon. Nobody knew who Joel Damon was as a golfer. He's just one of the guys that plays on the PGA Tour. He's one of the most famous golfers now because he was on that show.
Yeah, that's cool.
But and Taylor's done that with The Last Cowboy. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's Rainer specific. I know he wants to branch out with that a little bit. We've actually internally, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, we've kind of shot our own docuseries that we're shopping right now.
I think that's great. I've been trying to get NRHA to do that for years. Let's
It's expensive and it's involved, but I will tell you, and you guys know, I mean, look what it did to F1.
yeah, but what's expensive? I mean, there's nothing more expensive than not growing.
Right.
Right. I mean, it doesn't matter if you spend
It's
10 million
expensive
if you make
dying.
20. Right.
Dying is expensive.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the salary you guys pay me to put this show on, I mean, it's getting expensive, Tom, huh?
Yeah. Well, you get dinner in Ranchfield.
Yeah. They don't pay me nothing, Jay. I'm going to have to renegotiate.
Renegotiate.
You have to do your own series.
I'll have to do my own. Yeah.
Break off.
That'll pay even less because then I'll have to pay them people. To
Yeah,
come do
that's
it.
right.
Gunny's World.
Part time, excellent.
You'd have to be 18 or over to watch for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I will say this, and it got this way at the Cow Horse before I left, and I'm kind of, I told somebody the other day, the first 36 months of my job was dozing, cleaning up, getting things on the right path. Now is where my job becomes really fun, and we can start doing a lot of the creative stuff. Yeah, I did some of that before, but I want to continue to excel in that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, you're like I said, everybody I talk to says you're doing a great job, and I mean, we don't have anybody but great people on the show. I mean, there's a long checklist that you got to get by all the stuff, and so. Well, it was great having you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. I miss having lunch with you guys up in Pilot Point every couple of days. Yes.
Going from such like a global company like Red Bull and going to something that's much more niche, did you feel like you had to like?
I felt like I hit a brick wall going
Yes,
100 miles an hour.
Like it's a little daunting because we do the marketing as well. It's a little daunting to try and not like get the whole world to see it. Like you were used to a company where the whole world knows exactly what you do, and now you're trying to promote something where 1 in 5 maybe know confidently what you're talking about if you talk about a cutting horse. So how did you navigate that?
You know, obviously Red Bull gave me the skills to kind of promote, because we promoted a lot of stuff that y'all probably never heard of. But we did this deal.
Different sports that weren't sports then
Yeah,
that are
I mean-
Olympic sports now.
Wild stuff. Like the very first event I did with Red Bull was in Corpus Christi, and we were launching kiteboarders off the battleship down there.
And it's a big deal now.
And it was like we couldn't even get 6 guys to come do it, and it was a film project. And I mean, they had all kinds of stuff. It was a very diverse company. We had activations around culture events, art and music and dance and all that stuff. And that was the side, if you're really on the X Games side of stuff, you don't see a lot of this. So, but to your point, what I've tried to do, because let's just call it what it is, the equine industry in general is about 10 years behind what everybody else is doing marketing wise. So I always said, if I can move the needle that much in this industry, it looks like this much. And there's just some things that Red Bull or these other marketing companies do that will never work or apply to what we do. And it is a niche market, and it's understanding your customer base. And this is something I also tried to inspire to my staff, because I have several people on staff that are not horse people. And they're like, they'll get a phone call from someone raising hell about their entries and why didn't it get. I go, you have to understand where this person's coming from, okay? Because for a lot of people, the horse deal is the center of their life. I mean, more so than family, kids. It's their identity. It's who they are, and therefore there's an extreme amount of passion built up about that. So they look on the website and they don't see their name in the draw,
Yeah.
and they know they put an entry in. Hell yeah, they're going to be mad.
Yeah.
Pure panic.
Yeah. And I said, when you deal with these people, just understand what they're trying to relay to you, because it's this is the reason for their sole existence right now. As crazy as it sounds, but we've all been there.
Right.
You know? As crazy as it sounds. And I said, understand what they're going through and do everything you possibly can to help them with that. Because it is the single most important thing to them at the moment.
Yeah, which is.
But point I'm making is understand who you're talking to.
yeah,
Well,
which,
if
which,
you ask Tom who he's talking to at this end of the table, he's talking to a moron.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. Very good.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
all of it.
No,
I
this is
loved it.
great.
This is
Appreciate it very much.
unbelievable.
Thank you.
I know it's always something to donate your time, and we appreciate it.
Enjoy it. Thanks for the food.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right.
I never get to see you guys anymore, so it's like maybe at the futurity or something.
We didn't get lunch, but we got to have dinner.
Grow the show.